Hello, it's Martin from IAA Automotive and I'm at Munich at the Munich Motor Show. Super busy, lots of new stuff from European car manufacturers as well, unlike last year in Paris. We have coverage of that up in the right hand corner. So let's get right into it. There's too much stuff to show you everything, so I've filtered it down to 5 most important announcements and we can start right ahead with the mini booth. I'm afraid we will have to pick this up in the voiceover as it was too busy on the show floor. The new electric coupe is not too much of a shock, as Mini has been gradually revealing bits of it, but we finally get to see the whole product in person. Liked it a lot more than expected. It is still distinctly a Mini, but now with customizable taillights, so people who didn't like the Union Jack design of the previous version can change the light signature. Overall, just nicely cleaned up and modernized to look like a car in 2023 should. Keep in mind, these display models tend to be the top of the range examples. This one in particular comes with all the gadgets like the sunroof and the 360-degree cameras. It's also nice to see that, unlike before, Minis now apparently come with the same driving assistance technology like higher-end BMWs. In other words, a radar in the front bumper and 2 forward-facing cameras on the top of the windscreen. The iconic round headlights are still here as well, but the base model will get a slightly different version with a single daytime running light bar running through the center with reflectors instead of projectors for the main beam. However, it's the interior which raised a lot of questions and ruffled some feathers really, with a lot more minimalist design and most controls moved into the circular touchscreen. There's a heads-up display, but whether it will come as standard and in which markets remains to be seen. Unfortunately, this particular example was locked, so I can't show you more, but as someone who likes Tesla's interior styling, this was right up my alley. Luckily, all it takes is walking over to the other side of the stand to check out the new fully electric Countryman. Don't let the Mini name fool you, it's basically a BMW iX1 underneath with the Countryman styling on top, with a very upright grille, angular headlights, similarly customizable taillights and a lot of room on the inside. Practical boot with 40-20-40 split folding seats, electronically deployable tow hitch and a generous underfloor storage area. The panoramic roof helps with the sense of airiness, but even strictly looking at the dimensions, you can see I have plenty of space and can even stretch out a bit by moving my feet underneath the seat in front. Generally speaking, the quality everywhere is very good. Again, it's a high trim level with this perforated brown leather, but apart from some plastics, everything looks and feels good, with nice fabric inserts on the door cards and solid metal parts across many touch points. Let's be honest though, you care about the cockpit, so let's move to the front. The steering wheel is completely new, with the switchgear basically carried over from the BMW iX. I don't know whether to call it a 2-spoke or a 3-spoke, because the middle one is basically just a seatbelt-like fabric as a design element. It's time to address the elephant in the room though. There are still some physical switches below the screen, specifically the parking brake and the drive selector, the start-stop button, don't know why we need that in an EV, and the experiences toggle, which essentially replaces the driving mode switch. Lastly, there's still a volume knob, which can also swivel left and right to skip between tracks. There's also a second row of shortcuts for directly accessing some of the vehicle features. The temperature controls are in the screen itself. Maybe I just don't know what I'm doing, but I found that I needed to click the temperature icons before it would let me adjust the value. Heated seats and steering wheel controls live here as well. Otherwise, it's very Tesla-esque, with the speed and energy information being displayed at the top, but with the Mini you also get a heads-up display, but in the case of the Countryman, definitely a plastic one. I only had a minute to play about with it, but the graphics are really sharp despite the screen having a nice-to-touch matte finish to it. The bezels are slim, it's bright and responsive, etc. All the things you would want. I wasn't sure what to think of these new Minis when they were first launched, but I'm pleasantly surprised by what I've seen so far. The one to keep a close eye on will be the Aceman, a compact crossover scheduled to come out in 2024, which will sit below the Countryman. You always have to be careful when getting excited about a concept car, but some BMW concepts are a bit different to other car manufacturers. Let us just remind you what happened before the i3 launched. BMW initially showed off their intention of making an environmentally friendly urban EV with the i3 concept. It was later followed by a toned-down version named the i3 Concept Coupe, but still closely aligned with the original vision. And when the actual i3 launched, it still featured all the technology and styling, just with some more normal lights, more crash-friendly bumpers, and an interior which could be manufactured at scale. BMW already unveiled the BMW i Vision D. Ridiculous name and color-changing body panels aside, it previewed the general idea of a fully electric 3 Series with a heavy focus on digital features, which will be brought by BMW's new platform, called the Neue Klasse, which directly translates to New Class. BMW kept changing their minds about whether battery, electric, hybrid or hydrogen cars are the future, so we will see what the architecture exactly brings once it launches in 2025 and whether the cars will be a bit less compromised in terms of packaging compared to the current electric models from the brand. But the key takeaways about what to expect are, regardless of platform compatibility and variations, heavy focus on fully battery electric drivetrains. Styling-wise, chrome is a thing of the past. It's a terrible material for the environment and is no longer associated with modern luxury, so BMW will use accent lights to make their cars still recognizable. The 2.5 box silhouette of the concept will stay, further proven by the fact that the Vision Neue Klasse has practically an identical side profile to the previous i Vision D. The interior will feature a very spacious and minimalist layout, with a big touchscreen positioned out of the dash itself to make it easy to reach by the driver and front passenger. However, BMW is very clear that there will also be a heads-up display spanning the entire width of the windscreen, viewable not just by the driver but all passengers on board. Whether this will take the form of a short widescreen display or an actual heads-up display remains to be seen, but either way it will be controlled from the touchscreen and the steering wheel. It's not all about the gadgets though. Driving dynamics and enjoyment is still supposedly at one of the core goals during the development, so let's just hope this will still be a proper BMW. As mentioned, the first car built on the Neue Klasse platform will be an electric 3 Series type vehicle based on this very concept. But if that's not what you're looking for, don't worry, BMW plans a very quick rollout with 6 models released in total within the first 2 years. Sticking with the Germans, and if you can't wait that long, we have the Volkswagen ID.7. Practically an electric Passat, but based on the same MEB platform like VW's other electric models, like the ID.3 and ID.4. That means still no frunk, as all the air conditioning components live under the short bonnet to maximize the cabin space for the footprint of the car. And cabin is where it really counts, because VW listened to the feedback. Everything is trimmed in significantly more premium materials, and the seats have this blue piping and contrasting stitching. I like that VW is still sticking with not using leather, but rather relies on different high-grade fabrics to create a premium look and feel. The steering wheel still has the haptic touch controls, but the buttons have been reshuffled a bit to make more sense. The directional pad on the right side controls the instrument and heads-up display, with the arrows underneath for skipping media tracks. There is also a heated steering wheel shortcut now, whereas the left side controls the cruise control or speed limiter, plus there's a volume slider underneath. The drive selector has the same form as with other ID cars, but has been now moved onto the right side of the steering column, so the wiper and light functions have been merged onto the left one. As mentioned, the instrument display is even more basic than in the ID.3 or 4, with more emphasis placed on the heads-up display. The biggest and most welcome change has to be the brand new infotainment though. It has a bigger screen and, crucially, a new, more powerful processor with rewritten software, so it actually properly responds to inputs now. This particular car was in some kind of a half-on demo mode, with people getting in and out all the time, so it occasionally hung, but based on the initial impressions, it is definitely ahead of the old system and, quite frankly, what it should have been in the age of smartphones and tablets. I don't have enough time to go through all the features, but the important one which used to be missing in the past is battery preconditioning for rapid charging, with a very clear readout of how much power the battery can accept at any point. The touch sliders are still here. Personally didn't mind them that much, but they are finally illuminated, and the haptic shortcut buttons, which used to be very easy to accidentally press, have been moved into the persistent top bar of the display itself. Likewise, the HVAC now has a persistent dock-looking bar with quick access options too. The top-level seats include heating, ventilation and massage. But still on the topic of the HVAC system, the air vents are fully electronic, just like on the Porsche Taycan. In the back, the door cards remain of nice quality and the almost 3-meter wheelbase can be felt. Lots of room everywhere, and the comfort is helped by the rear climate controls and the electrochromatic roof. I'm sure what every Passat driver will care about is the boot. Just like that car, it is a hatchback, giving you a massive opening to load bulky items while retaining the range-friendly aerodynamic shape. Not much else to comment on. It's an ID car with all the things you would expect, like the electronic door handles, light bar in the front, etc. Under the skin is a new drivetrain. You have a choice of a 77 or 86 kWh battery, with the latter offering 435 miles of official WLTP range and CCS rapid charging up to 200 kW. The motor is still on the rear axle, but has been refined to offer very respectable 282 horsepower and better efficiency. That's not all from VW though. The ID.3 and ID.4 have undergone facelifts, but they couldn't be any more different. The smaller ID.3 facelift has been out for a few months now, and it has been pushed forward because of the criticism the model faced early on after launch. The styling has been cleaned up a bit with a new front bumper, and VW significantly upped the quality of the interior trims. Specifically, both front and rear door cards now have large Alcantara inserts with design stitching. Just a shame the gloss black plastic still stayed. The dashboard is also wrapped in vegan leather, but it retains more or less the same shape. These used to be available for a while, but you can also get more premium looking sports seats in the front with built-in headrests. The European market gets a bigger infotainment screen as standard now, but I'm afraid it runs on the same old processor with the same software as before. It also means you don't get any backlit sliders, the steering wheel remains unchanged, and the drive selector is still attached to the instrument display. The ID.4 on the other hand has undergone more of a tech lift. The only difference I could spot from the outside is the removal of the trim or battery badge from the side, but the bumpers and the lights remain identical. The inside features the new infotainment system though, with a slightly smaller screen compared to the ID.4, but the same software and backlit sliders. The steering wheel is also modernized to match the version in the 7 with the same stalk setup. Materials in the 4 have always been better than the 3, so the inside didn't get an upgrade here, which isn't too big of a problem in our eyes. It also retained the same battery, but got the new rear motor just like the ID.7. The ID.4 is a popular sensible family EV choice, and we are sure the tiny bit of extra horsepower and infotainment improvements will be welcomed by pretty much all drivers. And in the number one spot, it has to be the Tesla Model 3 facelift, the long-rumored Highland. That's the car behind me, but it would be too much to cram into a single video, so in fact that one will have its own dedicated video going in depth about the exterior interior changes and bits of the technology which we managed to spot in person. So there it is. Thank you very much for watching. Let us know which cars you are interested in, which are coming out in the near future. We always love to hear what you have to say. And as always, thank you very much for watching and see you in the next one.